All right, we're in business. Let's see, I don't know why this is here. We are trying to get live on Facebook too. We should be live on YouTube right now. We're live on Facebook. All right, we are live on Facebook, we are live on YouTube, and we are also live on the website. Yes, there seems to be a delay here. I'm not live on QuickTime. Well, no, it's a playback now. So file, I gotta go new movie recording and start over. Here we go. All right, action. It was, so it still should be, right? Yeah. All right. Well, after a few minutes of delay trying to be live on 3 different platforms, the website, YouTube, and Facebook, we finally got things rolling here. Again, I'm Dr. Mike. For my credentials, please visit my website, mikevantielen.com, or easier, mvtonline.com. Today for our podcast, we have Commissioner May with us, Daytona Beach Zone 3. And we're going to discuss today the impact that the coronavirus has had on the projects and the ongoing projects in Daytona Beach Zone 3. But before we get into that discussion, tell us a little bit more about yourself, Commissioner May, and what your background is.
Sure. Well, I actually wanted to say thank you for inviting me, and you handled all of that masterfully. I must say, Dr. Van Thielen stayed extremely calm, managing the phone, managing what was going on, didn't break a sweat, so hats off
It's
to you,
stressful,
sir.
but we got to get going if it's live, right?
I think that's kind of the age we're in right now. So we'll get back to that because the city is also making some fantastic adjustments as it relates to COVID, right? From a technological perspective, as am I personally. So my background is that I am actually born and raised, and I am from South Africa, Cape Town.
So you speak a little bit of Dutch like I do?
Ik zal het nou zeggen. Ik kan Afrikaans praten. Ja, ik kan.
Okay, very good. We both speak a little Dutch.
And so I'm the only person from my family who chose to come to the U.S. Everybody else, I went to Canada first for a while. So my family members are in Canada, and then I chose to come to the U.S. by myself. And I've been here alone for 18 years.
Okay.
And I'm starting to realize, as I'm sure you recognize for yourself as well, being an immigrant, that when you come to a country by yourself, it's a whole different feeling. There's one person you depend on, and that's you.
That's
so you
correct.
learn how to take care of everything the way
Been
you
there,
just
done
did.
that. Yes.
So I understand that. And so I came here, went to school here, ended up being married here as well, divorced now, I'm single, and no kids. And I think all of those things actually, they play in. They really make a difference in terms of, as you evolve, how it impacts your decision making. So I always think it's important for people to understand my perspective. I am a business person.
What kind of business?
You know what? Nobody really knows what I do. If you ask some people, they'll say she teaches yoga. She teaches Pilates. She's a ballroom dance coach. She's an executive wellness coach. I have poles in my studio.
I personally only knew that you were teaching dancing, and I always wanted to learn the merengue and the salsa.
Okay,
so
now-
it's still on my checkoff list.
Why did you not call is the question.
Well, you know, the excuse is time, right?
Okay. Well, you have lots
But
of
it's
it
on my
now.
checkoff list.
Everybody out there has so much time to learn dance. We just can't touch each other, but hey, that's a different matter.
6 foot apart.
I've actually been working
Yeah.
on that, just so we know.
So you teach dancing, you teach all kinds of exercise classes then?
No, what I say is this. It's not just classes. They're one-on-one sessions as well. They're private sessions, anywhere from kickboxing one-on-one to pole fitness to TRX to kettle. And you've been to the studio. So when you came, what did you experience?
Well, no, I was impressed with the studio because it's not a gym. So there's different kinds of equipment, different classes, and I really like the idea of all the variety was there. So it's not always the same workout and the same thing. I think, again, I've been there once to check it out, but I think the variety is what keeps things interesting for sure. Now, tell the people, where is your studio? Where do you teach these?
I am located downtown on Beach in Magnolia. So I'm right off Beach Street, and the cross section is Magnolia. And Magnolia, as we'll discuss later on, is about to become a fully activated street in the months ahead. But, you know, as we come back to COVID and my place of business, how many other people were in the room when you were there?
It was a private session.
It's a private session.
Yeah,
so
private sessions.
Interestingly, businesses who are doing one-on-one kinds of services, they actually have a bit of a future in the months and possibly years ahead of us, right?
And they've not been suffering as much because it's business as usual.
Actually, no, we're closed, believe it or not. So remember, the city chose, and we'll get to this later on, the city chose to close non-essential businesses. I am considered non-essential.
Okay.
I actually don't see myself that way. Why? Because I provide wellness.
Well, it's very subjective, right? What's essential and non-essential.
My hair is essential. Okay, hairdressers are essential.
So you have a background of fitness and exercise, and then why did you run for office? How did you end up being a commissioner? That must be an interesting story.
Well, the exercise, dance, and business for 14 years. That was part of my business marketing master's degree. So you're about to learn some things about me and your community that people don't really know. All right. So I went to school and I finished my master's program in business marketing. I initially graduated from Daytona State, went to UCF, went to Webster's University in Orlando, finished that. And I didn't realize it at the time. Funny how the world works, right? Didn't realize it. But my thesis was, how does a single woman survive in ballroom dance? And she had to do more than ballroom dance. She had to have other projects, other classes up. And so when I went back and I found my paper a few months back, I literally followed my business model that I created when I was in my master's program. Didn't even realize I was doing it. I was
very focused, very organized person.
I did not realize I was doing it. So I'm not sure if that's intentional, right?
Okay.
Chance, but it was in my mind. And so there's that. Now, how did I get into politics? So years later, as I'm doing my fitness, health, and wellness, I realized that, as you well know, fitness isn't enough. Movement isn't enough. So I went to nutrition. So I became a holistic practitioner, got my training for that. And I realized something was still missing. There was a component that they had, I'm sure you find this, they have all the pieces, but it's still failing. And then my curiosity turned to, why do people fail? Why do things not work? And that became deeply psychological. So I went back to school. And I'm right now completing my second master's degree in marriage and family therapy.
Oh my goodness.
So now I'm realizing, and I have realized always, that there's a relational component to any parts of success. You only get so far by yourself. And then you need the other to help push. Now, the other could be an outside force that's a mentor or a podcast, something like that. But having a strong other that keeps you building and pushing the whole time is vitally important to success. So that's how I got to politics. I'm getting there. I'm getting closer.
So it's about relationships, networking. Is that why you got into politics?
I was reading a book. I was reading one of my classes, and it was about family life cycles. And the key line was that for women, or people are marginalized, to get anywhere, there's one of two ways. It's either through economics and business development. And this is in part of my therapy books, right? Business to economic development, economics, debt ratio, pay your bills, get out of debt, build something with wealth. And the other was politics.
Okay.
They said those are two ways, especially women, can affect their lives and affect the lives of other women. And so I looked at the economics and I said, I'm in a good position. I've worked really hard. I could do this. Politically, I said, well, that's the avenue I don't know about. Come to find out that I actually knew a bit about it.
Okay. How long have you been in office now?
November will make it 2 years, and those 2 years have gone by in a heartbeat. I hit the ground running.
Time short flies. Now, let's get into a little bit. What was the city of Daytona's response to this coronavirus initially when it all started up until today?
Okay, so as per Chief Capri, and of course, whatever I say, you can always go back and double check with regard to our archives. So the city has an archive site, and we tape all of our commission meetings, so you can always go back and check that. Apparently, our chief of police is on the forefront of technology, as many friends around the world. As things were evolving in Asia, he was paying attention. He has friends across the country in law enforcement. People were starting to mobilize. So before it even hit our community, he was already doing research what other communities were doing, and we were starting to order supplies. And so right now we're in a good position and we're expecting more. So we were already preparing for this, didn't wait for it to hit us. Same thing with our hospital systems, which is not part of the Daytona state or Daytona government, but that's a separate entity. But we were all working together behind the scenes before it became a real issue here for us. Our numbers are very low, but I often wonder, are our numbers low because we reacted so quickly? Now let's talk about what we actually, that's behind the scenes.
What are the things that you put in place initially to prevent the spread of the coronavirus?
Well, let's first talk about our employees, all right? So city government. We have approximately 800 employees there. Immediately, we started thinking about finances. How do we take care of our employees? Because they represent a large population throughout Daytona Beach. We gave an extra 80 hours of pay along with full pay. And we said, if you are in a vulnerable population, go home. We installed hand sanitizers everywhere. We started closing down certain offices. Our technology went online right away. Our IT department, fantastic. They were ready to go. They started going to virtual meetings if we wanted to do that. I chose to still go to meetings. We immediately stopped doing any of the, we have regular scheduled community meetings. We took those off, and then now we're back to virtual. So from an economic perspective, dealing with the employees, that's 800 people, we did really well. They're very happy. With our fire department, if anybody became ill, only one person became ill, sent home right away, quarantined. Everything was fine. We've had no other issues on the staff or on the employee base of Daytona Beach.
Okay.
So for that, I'm really proud. We took care of our employees.
Okay.
Many other cities maybe have not acted that way. So we're ahead of the curve. Another way that we got some pushback, and leadership has responsibility. So there are some times that individuals make a decision and they have to live by it. But as a commission, when a decision is made, we don't say one person made it. We say the commission as a whole made it. Mm-hmm. So as a whole, we decided to end our bike week early. So our bike week ended, I want to say it was the Friday evening, and the Saturday morning, we had to have everybody done. So
it was almost done, but you still stopped it like a day or two early.
Exactly. And all that happened, which is where the pushback came in. And I'll be honest, go to the archives. I was like, why are we doing that? After the fact, it happened, and then we had to respond to it because everybody went where? Ormond Beach, Holly Hill. They went other places.
So if you drive them out of one section of the town, then obviously go to
spend their money. But then guess where they came back to stay? Daytona Beach. So it did do anything? No. But was it the right thing to do to show people, hey, we're in it and we're making some hard decisions? 100%. I don't think at any time have we sat on the fence and kind of let things happen. We've tried to be ahead of it. So that was a big thing. And we got pushback from it, from the business community.
What about the beaches?
Beaches are a county issue, but I will tell you, I made some phone calls, and I'm very honest about this. My reasoning, and I made this very clear at City Commission, was that the reason I wanted the beach to be closed was that I did not want to invite people from the areas where beaches were closing. Where beaches were closing to come up to Daytona Beach because we were
it was open. So you would invite, just like Bike Week, you would invite many people into town.
Because they were trying to escape the areas they were. I did not want that to happen. And so, that's not a city decision, that's a county decision.
Okay.
Again, from a city perspective, we went to a restaurant takeout position. Now, at one moment, they were going to just close, and we lobbied for no, let's do takeout. And so that has actually been working. Now, some restaurants adjust it and some, aren't able to do it. And this is how it goes right now.
Sure.
Then a following week, we came back and the mayor recognized that people were having pool parties. Why they would have a pool party, I don't know. But we had people in community pools. They were in community pools having parties, more than 10 people. We don't know what's going on. We also had some younger people congregating. I know that your children probably are not doing that with their friends. However, some of the people...
No comments.
I think I said that for a reason. So you didn't fall for it? Okay. Mm-hmm. They were congregating. Not a good thing. Even now it's happening. So they're not adhering to that. So we said, close the pools. We then stepped back from it. Now, I was on the beach running, and I had a constituent come up and say to me, Juanita, I live at an HOA. Everybody's a senior. I'm pretty healthy. Why are we closing all the pools? So I brought this up. So we moved back from that. We said, no, everybody has to be
close the
self-aware.
pools, community pools, then reopen them.
Yes. Now, by community pools, I don't mean city-owned property, because as a city, we closed all city-owned properties. Any oasis, senior activities, young person activities, youth activities, anything that was city-based, we closed right away. Okay, so there's that. Now we still have more responses that we're going through. We tried going to a curfew. We had to step back from that. Now, the reason for the curfew is what? We have businesses that are closed, and we have other people with nothing to do. But it's a natural fit there. So if we know where everybody is, it helps. It's not that we don't want you to go from Ormond Beach to Daytona Beach. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is we're trying to protect some businesses who were shut. Thank goodness people have been respectful of property and business, and crime has reduced a bit, right? So all those things are positive. Yeah. Some of the other things that we've also done is we have supported other communities financially. So as a city commissioner, I receive a small fund, about $6,000, that I can distribute in the community. I chose as a commissioner, my political position is I don't spend other people's money. And as far as I'm concerned, for me personally, that amount of money is not my money to give away to who I choose. When this happened, I reached out to Housing Authority, and they represent over 2,000 people in the Daytona Beach area who have restricted incomes, who were impacted by COVID, who lost their jobs, who were furloughed. Some families have 2 children. A cross-section of racial, white, Hispanic, African-American. Ages, we have older people over 55. We have people with mental health issues, sure, disabilities, and veterans. So I chose to give the full $6,000 to Housing Authority. I trust them to disperse it with the understanding that $2,000 would go toward my seniors in Zone 3, and the other $4,000 they could use families, for food, for families, etc. Those are things that you cannot use federal funds for. So, if I had to do an open plea for something, I would say if you have anything extra, I would recommend you donate it to Housing Authority, because I trust them to give it to the communities that actually need it. And you just give it and you're done with it. Okay. So there's that. So those are the ways that we reacted. With regard to, I remember I got an email about somebody, this lady in Port Orange has a boat. And she said, I hope we're not closing the waterways. So the Daytona Beach ramp was open. People were out boating. But the question is, when you're out boating, are you congregating with other people? Like, what is your behavior? What are you doing exactly? So we can only go so far. With regard to more reaction, downtown, which is Zone 3, and also, so I can only speak to Zone 3. Each commissioner has a zone, and I'm responsible for Zone 3, which extends from, let's say, the south side of Seabreeze, and then the north side of Orange Ave or Silver Beach. It extends all the way to the beach, and then it extends all the way through to Bethune-Cookman University and the residential units there for the students, and then that entire community.
So all those things that the city have done.
Yeah.
What I've observed, that even though those measurements are taken, there's never been really any enforcement of many of those things. However, I have been surprised to witness myself that most people have been trying to compliant with, the 6 foot social distancing and things like that, even though there's no enforcement. Do you have any comments on that?
Okay, so I have a family member. She lives in Canada. Her name is Jackie. Hello, Jackie. um, in Canada, there's $1,000 fine for breaking the rules. I just wrote a paper about this for school. And the paper went something like this. In the US, we are composed of individuals. That's what makes us unique, that we have so many individual ways of living, and we embrace that. We also have something called mavericks. And mavericks are people who, no matter what you tell them, whether it's for their good or not, whether it's right or wrong, and it's generally right, they're not going to do it until they decide they're going to do it. So this is what you see. We also have a police, we have a very conscious, socially aware police department. They've had fantastic training. And their goal is not to harass people. I don't even like to use that word. Their goal is the safety of the community. And sometimes when you say to somebody, hey, we have a rule, you're not following the rule, it's perceived as harassment. No. And one thing you'll always know about me is that there is a rule and you are in fact breaking the rule. That just makes you non-law abiding. That's just how it is for me. And so what we've done is we've said, we're not going at it hard. We're hoping people have enough sense and enough respect for their neighbor and enough concern for the person next to them to care enough to do something. And so this comes down to, for me, how strongly do I feel that I could potentially be transmitting something with someone else, whether it's real or not, right? I mean, how responsible am I for the next person? Okay. So
well, yeah, you're right. You got those two types of people.
Yeah.
And I think initially, those people were kind of clashing because the ones that wanted to stay home are mad at the ones that are going out there and potentially spreading the virus. But I think now, after a few weeks, it seems that everybody still wants to walk on the beach, go exercise, go hike, but they are aware of the social distancing. They're respecting the other people, and they're not congregating in groups anymore. So I think, that is working very well right now. Now, let's move to the next section, because Zone 3 Daytona Beach, we have a lot of projects going on in the downtown area, also Beach Street. And so how has this pandemic of the coronavirus impacted those projects? And let's go over some of them. We had the Riverfront Park project. Explain to the viewers what that project is, how much is invested, and what we expect to see with that project.
Riverfront Park project is a project that is supported by the Brown and Brown Foundation, and they proposed and was accepted by the city to build a $15 million park project that starts at Main Street, the corner of, let's say, Main and Beach, and then extends all the way to Orange Avenue and Beach Street. So it takes up an entire area of the park. This project is going to be nothing less than spectacular. It'll be a reason for people to want to come downtown and not just go directly to the beach. So what happens is, here in Ormond Beach, right, you are going up the main road, so you can see the restaurants. On Beach Street, it doesn't work that way. It's a north-south street, so we don't have that kind of traffic flow happening. Here, when you get to the park, you can make a choice. Do I go left? Do I go right? I may not want to go to the beach. I may want to stop right at that particular spot. So that's the important part. They'll have areas for dogs, huge dog community in the Volusia County area. So dogs, there'll be walkways, fantastic trees, great plants, things that are native to Florida will be there. We'll have a fantastic water park. In terms of a kids splash park, we will have some launches of boats happening as well. So it'll be a very active area. We're hoping to activate the water right in front of it as well. So it's actually gone, I'll be honest, from $15 million to a $25 million project. And I quote that from the city manager, Mr. Chisholm. So they've invested more money than $15 million.
And have this project been slowed down by this virus, or
actually,
when are we expect?
They're in design right now. So they're almost done with the design phase, and then they'll be ready to go. Now their project, and there's another one, there dovetails with our project. Ours comes first. So right now, Beach Street, gone to 1 lane up and 1 lane down. So 1 lane heading north and 1 lane heading south, different sides of the street, and median in the middle. So I remember, Dr. Ben Phelan, I was in Canada at a seminar, and this came before commission, and I couldn't be there, so I called in. And I was surprised at the number of people who do not come to Beach Street, since my business is down there, who had a lot to say about Beach Street, but did not live in Daytona Beach.
Mm-hmm. Since I moved here in 97, Beach Street always to me has been attractive. There's restaurants. It's nice to walk to. We got the markets there. We got art festivals there. We got the farmers market there. There's always, like good little restaurants. I still like to go to Kale to get my veggie burger and my, vegan food and things like that. But it always seemed to, over all these decades that I've been here, indeed a very hard area for a business owner to survive due to that lack of traffic that you are talking about, right? Now, people pass by there. So are you guys doing something to change that besides the one-way traffic?
Well, remember, one-way traffic will automatically slow it down because we also have angled parking. Now, what's interesting is the parking that we have now is angled on one side and parallel on the other side. Mm-hmm. It is going to angled on both sides. That's what the extra lane is going for. Okay. And I actually ran on the sidewalk the other morning, and the sidewalk that's been expanded, fantastic. It'll be great for running. It'll be great for biking. It'll be great for rollerblading. So that's going to be very nice. But, with regard to why, let's talk about the business community first. So, whatever I say here, I'm going to say a commission. I don't hold anything back. So we have a couple of businesses down there that have signs out saying that they are opening. They haven't opened in 2 years. So it's things like that. There are at least 3 facilities down there that say they're opening. They have higher signs out, no movement, 3 years. So what they're doing is they're hurting the other businesses down there and stopping someone else from coming in because they're holding on to something. So I requested that our redevelopment person go and find out. I said, I want to know, what is the problem? Is the problem funding? Is it employees? I mean, what is the issue? And possibly if it's an issue that the city can help with, I would like to be a helpmate versus complain. I don't like that. So that was number one. Okay, so now COVID happens. Everybody's closed. And now we see who makes it. Now we see what happens. So do I think that there'll be turnover? Quite possibly. The good thing is, there is a good thing here. There's always a good thing in everything, right? The project is moving along ahead of schedule. So one side is almost completed. We're moving into phase 2. There are roughly 6 phases, and they each start on the, I want to say it's on the east side first, and then we switch to the west side. But right now, nobody's complaining about it.
I know. I was there last week. I had to go in one lane because they were working. I was heading north, and I had to go in one lane.
Sir, or were you going slowly?
I don't answer those questions.
A simple yes. It's a yes or no response. No, right?
I couldn't speed because there was cars in front of me, and we had to go into that one lane
and
because they were working.
And now it's become a destination. Okay. And now it's become a driving destination.
What's the update on the ballpark?
Okay, so again, the city does so much work behind the scenes. Let me just go back to that road project. That road project was $4 million for that road project. So we are investing in that downtown area at a tremendous rate right now because we're trying to support activities. That could become a hub of attraction because people are spending money out west in Tanger, but they're not necessarily coming down here. That is a problem for the business community. So having that park attracts people to want to eat here in the downtown area and see what we have. Also, if you've ever been to St. Petersburg, so before we did this, or was in the works, we took a trip to St. Petersburg to, I think it's called Beach Drive. And I literally saw what this could look like. I saw
a good example.
Yeah, it was fantastic. You could walk the sidewalks. You had the park on one side. You had the water. I mean, what I've always wanted down there is a water-based restaurant. You could just pull up your boat, get off your boat, and hop in and be on the street. We
got those along the Halifax River, but most of them are in Ponce Inlet, except Caribbean Jacks.
Exactly.
That's the only
and they do well, right? Now, we do have, in case you don't know, we do have some docks that were built, but the issue seems to be that when you pull up your boat, it might not be deep enough, but I mean, they're fantastic docks, number one.
I used to have issues with that.
Say that.
I used to have issues with certain
Get a smaller boat. Try paddle boarding. Okay. So you would have your dock, which is great, a little underutilized. But I'm finding out the issue may be that you leave your boat there and then you have to walk a little distance to go to Beach Street, to use a restaurant. Mm-hmm. People would like it to be pull up and you're there.
It would be nice.
That would be nice. So, I mean, our road project is designed to slow you down. When I'm on Granada, so before we did this, I sat at, I think it was Rose Villa one day, I had a cup of iced tea, and I just watched the traffic. I wanted to see, what is this? I walked the shops in Ormond. I wanted to see what goes on in Ormond Beach. That is so spectacular. And I saw a lot of traffic. And I went, they're not actually slowing down.
Well, you're on the main road, though.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
So you're going, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this north-south road will slow you down. And that is what we're going for. Plus, we're hoping to attract, more family type units. So more parents, kids. And we've discovered that mothers do not want to walk their strollers in areas with high traffic. They don't want to cross the street.
Sure. Mm-hmm. What about the Veterans Bridge?
Okay, the Veterans Bridge, that is obviously a county project and not a city project. Okay. And they did not make their March deadline. I can say that with confidence.
Okay.
But wait, let's get back to the ballpark. So behind the scenes, what the city was doing was we were communicating with Mr. French, the owner, one of the owners of the Tortugas, asking him how we could help. The city gave them huge support. We said that as their position improves, with the baseball commissioners, that would continue supporting them, and that would mean maybe doing some changes for them, their clubhouse, etc. So we're on board with that without a full commitment. But we've already invested in that ballpark. It is a historic, iconic, cultural structure. That's not going anywhere. That needs to stay. Right?
Well, yeah, you got the library there, you got the courthouse there. So we've
got Veterans Bridge. It's doing its thing. I live nearby. I see the progress happening there. We have the ballpark. We're waiting to hear. I'm in contact with Mr. French every few weeks to find out, where are we with that? Everyone's on hold. I have some friends in professional baseball, and I've said to them, have you heard anything? Everything's kind of on lockdown right now.
Okay. What about the farmers market?
So the farmers market, very exciting. The farmers market right now, and has been for years, at City Island. So if you go over Magnolia Bridge, you see the library, you see the ballpark, it's right there. You know what? It's been there for years. This is the ideal time for it to adjust. Now, as with Beach Street, as with the farmers market, people love to say to us in Daytona Beach, New Smyrna Beach, Ormond Beach, DeLand, all these people are doing all of these fantastic things. You're so far behind. My response to that is, all right, how about we try it? Now that we're trying it, the response is, why are you changing? Right? So
how are you changing it?
We're moving it to Magnolia.
Okay.
So Magnolia, think of the area between Beach and Palmetto. There's a street there called Magnolia. My business is on one side of Magnolia. Right now, they've gone in and they've done some beautification there. They're putting in some extra power lines so we can actually have a farmer's market at night. Not Saturday morning, but a Friday evening from, let's say, 5 to 9. Now,
to draw people to that area.
Exactly. This is, again, part of a greater strategy. It's not done in isolation. So the farmers market moves to Magnolia. We have areas set up for live events, for vendors, for food, for entertainment. So if you're out there and you have a skill, I'm into blind juggling. Imagine a blind juggler.
Blind juggling,
I think that would be great fun.
Stay more than 6 feet away then.
Yeah. And that's just it, right? So, now we have to kind of rethink all these things, but it's a farmer's market. And so that is being worked on. But again, the slowdown right now allows us, and by the slowdown, I mean the world slowing down right now, allows us to continue working and getting our infrastructure set up. Quite a bit.
I think that's a good move. Any interesting water projects in the downtown area?
Yes. Well, as part of the farmers market, the water project down there will be that you can actually have a glass of wine or beer while you're shopping. What do you think of that one?
Is that called a water project?
That's my water project for you. Okay. But water projects in general. So if you were to go down to Beach Street, you would recognize that we have some road closures going on. And right now, what we're working on is just better signage to let the residents there know kind of which detours to take, because we are doing a huge underground water, improvement down there. It's not shutting down the driving. We still have our driving going. It's not closing Beach Street. Everything is open, but it is going to help support the Riverfront Park and support any new housing projects that are coming down there, because we are expecting some more housing down there.
I've been hearing about Sweetheart Trail, but personally, I don't even know what that is all about.
You take your sweetheart there and you walk.
Is that right?
Yes.
And so that's just around the block? What is it? Explain to our listeners what the Sweetheart Trail is.
So the Sweetheart Trail, it's a series of trails that connect Florida. and it's part of a tourism package. And so we are the Daytona Beach, Volusia County portion of it. And our section starts roughly at, let's say, Bevel Extension. We've widened the sidewalks. We have a back trail. We have a park back there. It's winding through South Beach Street and then through across Orange Avenue and then along the water as well, all the way to Main Street.
So it's part of a Florida project. And if you say a project,
So
are we
it's
talking,
funded.
is it driving, walking, bicycling?
It's walking, biking, rollerblading, but no cars.
No cars.
No
So the
cars,
project
yes.
is activity again.
100%.
And so in the city of Daytona, it goes through those
it would
new
go through
areas.
the parks,
Okay.
exactly. Also, maybe possibly our goal is to wind it underneath the bridge, and it'll be one continuous trail, and it would go all the way through Ballou Road, all the way through to Oak Ridge Seabreeze overpass. Mm-hmm.
So it seems there's a lot of focus on the Beach Street area. Are there any other improvements going on in your specific zone?
So, I always, I always take a moment before I speak, and I think about my response very carefully. So when I first came to office, I believed everybody gets the same thing. And what I've come to discover is that that may not be the case. The case may be that in some areas, we need food. We need food. In some areas, we need code enforcement. In some areas, we need economic development. So us assuming that all areas get the same type of focus is erroneous. Downtown needs to be an economic driver to attract people. So does the beach side. Contingent upon that is that we have homes there. So now we're dealing with code enforcement, which still continues on. We have a huge, let me just say it, people, let me get it out there, vacation rentals, okay? We have areas where, and notice how my voice changed. All right, so here it is.
You can be passionate about what
no,
you
it's
do.
not passion. It's just being direct. I don't like to play games. So we have areas where you're allowed to have a vacation rental. Keep it in those areas. Areas that are not allowed to have it, don't have it there. These rules are clearly stated. So we have to still continuously deal with that. Interestingly, the governor did say vacation rentals are out right now because of the impact of the virus,
of the
right?
virus, yes.
One more thing. So we've got that. Then we've got the Main Street area. So in this time, I'm using it for Zone 3 cleanup. And what we're doing is we are going in and just taking care of some of the streets. We're doing some FPL is continuing to take down, I'm not sure if you have it here, but we have a cement structure for power. And then we have a wooden structure. And we're trying to get those removed. And we have been.
And go underground?
They're just going on top, but they're taking out 2 poles. We used to have 2, now we're down to 1. We're consolidating for now. In some of the other areas along the Bethune-Cookman area, right there we have a beautification project on MMB, and then we're also waiting to see what happens with the university. So, the Riverfront Park, you may or may not realize this, but it intersects with Mary McLeod Bethune. They're going to have a statue there that's a replica of the statue that's being placed in DC. Right there.
Okay.
So people are going to go up that street. So it's a really good idea for the city, and that's part of my zone, to start working on what can we do. Something on my radar is ISB. Again, the roundabout situation or traffic light situation. We'll get road improvement as well along with that. But we can also start planning for a beautification project that would run on either side of it. It makes no sense to beautify something and then to tear it down. But at least we can start having a conversation about it. An area that concerns me quite a bit is Ridgewood as well. I feel as though we ignore Ridgewood from, let's say, the Holly Hill divide to, let's say, the South Daytona divide. And when I drive that bit, part of that is Zone 3. I would like for us to work on beautifying that in some way, shape, or form. I can't do anything about the business. We have property rights, right? You do what you want with your business, but it has to respect and uplift the rest of the community.
Yeah.
So those are the kinds of things. But again, each area fundamentally, it's so individual. Each area has its own needs.
And that makes sense. I mean, let's say you come from 95 as a tourist, you take 92, you're going east. It all looks great because we got NASCAR there, right? We got the racetrack there.
Sure.
And as you go further towards the beach and east, we come in different areas and suddenly things change, right?
Right.
And so I know exactly what you're saying when you say different areas have different needs, for
Right.
sure. And Daytona still is an area where many thousands and thousands of tourists come, not just for the races, but for bike week and on vacation, right?
I don't think people
To the
realize
beach.
how much traffic we have there. So, we have 67,000 roughly people who live there. But, that's doubled.
In Zone 3, you mean?
In Daytona Beach. I mean, we
Okay.
get that many tourists who come, or people coming in to work and then leaving the area to go home. So, I mean, people come, they use those streets, they do everything here, they leave their trash, and they go home. I'm like, take your stuff with you. Leave a place better than, where you found it. So we get a lot of traffic. We have a lot more wear and tear, I find, because we have so many people coming all the time. And so we have to pay attention to those things.
That makes sense. Now, thanks for the update on all those projects and what's going on in Daytona Beach. Now, what do you think the city's response is going to be to now having the government trying to install or implement the three-phase approach to get that economy going again? What can we expect in Daytona Beach?
Okay, well, let me just backtrack for a sec. You asked what else has Daytona Beach done that's different? Two things we've done that's different. It was just my mind was processing. We've had weekly meetings. I'm not sure other cities have done that. We've been meeting every single Tuesday to go over where are we going? Do we have a problem with the pandemic?
Okay.
I'm not sure other cities have been doing that.
No idea.
I happen to know.
Okay.
So that's why I'm quite proud in saying that has been our response. The other thing that we did was that the water bill, which, for some of us, that might not seem like a big thing, but sometimes for many in our community throughout Daytona Beach, and even into Ormond or Port Orange, there are many people who a $50 bill is a big difference.
You're talking about the utility bill?
The water bill.
Okay.
So we waive that fee.
Oh, for all your residents?
For all our residents.
For how long?
We did it for the month of April, and then we will evaluate again. All right. So it might not seem like a lot, but imagine en masse doing that for everybody. And then what we said was, if you feel that you don't need this bit of forgiveness on this water thing, then pay it anyway, and it'll go back into a fund, which then we can perpetuate it a little bit more. So those who can will, but it's not forced. You don't have to, right?
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Exactly.
Very nice.
Those are the kinds of things. So, moving forward, what do I see? I personally would like to encourage anybody who wants, if you're listening to this, you're an entrepreneur. You know that you have enough money set aside that if you could survive something like this, then you're in the right position to have a business. I encourage you not to be scared. I encourage you to approach me, especially if it's in Zone 3, and say, Commissioner May, I'm looking to open a business. Can you give me any kind of inside guidance? Can you hold my hand? Can you lead me in the right direction? Who do I have to speak to? And I am more than happy to help you with that and walk you through the process and make any phone calls I can to help you. But I don't want that small business person, which to me is so important. That little restaurant you like to go to, or little shops, that's us. That's me. Those are my neighbors. So if we're not in business, you don't have that experience. All you have is an empty building.
That's correct.
And so that is what we have to be cautious of. So I'm in an interesting position. The position is I'm a business person downtown and I'm closed. So what did I do to adapt? Exactly what you're doing. I took my entire business online. And so I now see clients online. We do fitness online at home. I even do group fitness, and my clients are in that vulnerable age. They're 65 and older, or they're business people. So they want their schedule. So I'm doing private sessions with my business community, and they're doing one-on-one private sessions. I gave them all the equipment.
Yeah, we all have to adjust if we can. I guess we're lucky that we can, still do exercise and things with applications like Zoom. In our physical therapy business, it's the same thing. They're not coming to the office anymore, but we're doing one-on-one, and we're making sure they're doing their exercises correct at home, etc.
How does that work for you? Like, do you just talk them through it? Is that it?
Well, yeah, most of them already, of course, know their exercises. Right. So I tell them, okay, how are you doing today? What's your pain level? What have you been up to? Have you been doing your exercises? Are you walking? Let's start with your exercises. And obviously I can see them, so I give them corrective instructions as I see them to perform their exercises. Probably the same as you do when they are executing their exercises, their movements.
So businesses who can adjust, we will adjust, and I always say adapt and overcome to the best of your ability. And it's a good idea to right now make a transition. mean, we have to start thinking, and what does this look like? I mean, in your opinion, do you think that when they say all clear, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, do you believe that people will go back to the way they behaved? Do you think that?
Well, I hope a lot of people actually, will have learned a lot from this experience. Again, I kind of hike once in a while, and during this period, there's more people out there hiking, and there's more people, walking through the streets in this community. So people have more time, and they're spending more time with the family, and they are doing more outdoor activities, and hopefully it's something they carry on afterwards too. Those types of things. In the physical therapy business, we never do this online teaching or exercise or what they call telehealth visits, but there are codes for it and there's small reimbursements for it. So even if this would go back to normal where people come to the office, there are applications where we can continue to implement this. For example, a patient has to come 3 times per week to physical therapy, but they live 35 minutes away and the drive aggravates their low back pain. Well, maybe they should only come once a week, and the other 2 visits we could do, the telehealth wide. So I think it also opens opportunities and, ways of thinking on how we could, implement the positive things of what's happening here.
So, my background is also obviously in marriage and family therapy. So my big concern, even as City Commission, is what is the impact of this going to be emotionally? How do behaviors change as well? How are people conditioned to do this? What is going on with that family structure right now? How are people coping? So I think that we may see something with the economics. And my concern is what's happening on the other side of that, the emotional well-being of the entire organism, because we obviously impact each other. I need to make sure that my friend, that their immune system is going strong, because I don't want them to get sick because I have contact with them. Suddenly, all of these factors are going to come together. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe it's a new age. Maybe it's a new age with a focus on health and wellness and well-being in a very proactive way. Suddenly, are people going to want to walk more? I hope so. My interest is in density. What is going to happen to living density? So, I mean, there was a big push toward urban development where we have apartments. Are people still going to want to do that? Or are they going to want to live independently? Is a house size going to change? Are we going to need, we already have it. I think we went through a phase where we had a home office and then we moved away from it. Mm-hmm. I think it might go back to the home office.
More home-based businesses.
Exactly. Yeah. But again, what does that do now? There's always these secondary effects, right? So now we go to home-based business. What does that do to the building structure? What do we do with that? Does it become a giant empty mall, just a big box? I mean, we have to start thinking, for me personally, as a city commissioner, my thought has to not just be, how do I deal with a pandemic now? How do I deal with the crisis as it comes to me now? It has to be, that's part of my function. The rest of my function is, and how do we move forward?
Impact the future.
Yeah. Exactly. We still have to build. We still have to do things. What does that look like? So Daytona Beach, we suspect we might be open, completely open. We're open now, by the way. We're online, permitting, code, everything is going. It's just online. And yes, they are still doing service calls. So that is happening, just limited. So, we're looking to maybe go back to it in May.
It's almost May.
It's almost May.
It's almost May.
Yeah.
So yeah, I see that that things will start to reopen. More and more things trying to go back to normal as especially our government tries to get this economy up and running again. Lastly, Commissioner May, what are your personal future plans?
See, thinking again.
Gotta be careful,
right? So, for me, and being an intern, a grad intern, in therapy and doing being a holistic practitioner in fitness, I literally had a plan for every phase of my life. So from 30 to 40 and 40 to 50, and I am 49 years old. I'm proud to say it. I'll be 50 next year. I've followed my plan, and now there's 50, and I've done everything that I even dreamed I would do.
You're accomplishing your goals.
I finished them. The problem is, which is
fascinating. So what did you plan between 50 and 60? Oh, you didn't.
I didn't.
So you stopped planning.
Oh my God! Because you know what I thought.
I guess you're done.
my goal is my entire focus from the age of 25 is going to be in what does 50 look like, right? And so now 50 is going to be here in maybe 8 months, and I'm sitting back going, I just spoke to a friend and said,
You're gonna stay a commissioner or wanting to stay a commissioner?
I have 2 more years in office, and remaining in politics is not really my choice. It'll be a decision that the community has to make. The community would have to say, this is what we want, or this is not what we want. It's that simple. You don't force things like that. But for me personally, it's finishing my internship, which I've had to stop because I was in a hospital environment.
Yeah.
Dealing with clients there. I've had to stop that because I have to deal as a commissioner with, if there's a problem, I've got to be responsible I have a greater responsibility. So I chose that. So I'm finishing up that. That'll probably set me back probably 3 to 6 months. I am an academic junkie.
Junkie.
I might go back to school.
I mean, you have to continue to stimulate your brain and move forward.
I need it, man. Continuous improvement and adapt and overcome. Those are my mottos.
Very good. We had a great conversation. We got all the updates on the projects in Daytona Beach. I'm actually excited about that whole riverfront park and the beach side. I always loved that area, but I always felt like it's never succeeded in being busy. It never did it.
I have a question for you before we finish. Here's my question for you. So you don't know what I'm going to ask you. You should be scared.
I don't.
You should be nervous.
I can put stop on that screen, though.
That's a little too much control. So here's my question before we finish. My question is 2 things. First of all, I may have a radio show coming up dealing with health, wellness, fitness, nutrition on WELE. I would love to have you come and speak to some issues.
Anytime.
Number 1. Number 2, how's your life going to change?
How's my life going to change?
Because you are a leader in the community. And so my question is, has this impacted you? I mean, and let's not go there. Would you tell somebody else to behave a certain way? Because, people look toward me, people look toward you. So how is your life changing?
Well, I think my life personally won't change. I always have many projects and things going on. I got plans and goals too. So I'm focusing more again on trying to educate people more on health. A lot of these podcasts will be on health, trying to reach a bigger audience, doing motivational speaking, writing a few more books, and networking a lot. And so again, I think that maybe this whole pandemic may have a portion of the population at least realize that maybe they should have a better immune system when something like this comes along, this virus, that they should be exercising more, that they should prioritize their family and their personal well-being versus a 8-to-5 job, etc. And hopefully we as educators can kind of take advantage of this period to kind of engage more people in the services that we offer for them to be healthier and also teach their loved ones on how to be healthier. And so I always wanted to do my own podcast. And here I am having extra time. And I decided, okay, now is the time to put it together and get ready. And so when this pandemic kind of, eases out or things get back to quote unquote normal, hopefully a lot of people will come on board, try to be healthier, eat healthier, take the right supplements, know the benefits about sunlight and clean water, and be a little bit more skeptical about things like vaccines and drugs and fluoride in the water and GMO. And that's what we're going to educate people on, so they start thinking a little bit for themselves and having the drive to be healthier. And I think both of us can kind of play in on that and try to guide those people in the right direction.
In your future, do you see clients one-on-one? Because I will tell you, for me, I work with clients one-on-one in fitness, nutrition, exercise, the whole 9. Everything with me is very one-on-one. I will tell you that my clients they've all stayed with it. I haven't lost a client, right? So my clients are with it. Their health has improved.
I hope so.
Their strength has improved. They've lost weight, right? Mm-hmm. So I find it interesting that when you work with somebody one-on-one who's in it with you, and you don't have to think about it, they're saying, do this, do that, you succeed. Or do you find the same thing versus people watching YouTube or whatever? Or, isn't it easier working with somebody?
Well, of course, but we only have so much time, right? X amount of hours in a day. So that way you can only reach certain clients. So what we want to do is, just like motivational speaking, I spoke for groups, hundreds of people. And so if a few people walk away with a message and they implement something practical and it changes their life, you probably succeeded. You cannot expect everybody that listens to you, they're going to implement something and they change their life. But there are people that need more guidance and that reach out and want help. And so it's those people that we teach one-on-one, to reach their goals. And, that those are our success stories, right?
Yeah.
So many people can listen, they can implement something, they can be better, and we won't even know because there's no communication. But it's the people we work one-on-one that become our testimonials, but at the same time, that drives us to continue to do what we do because we know we're right. We know we're doing something good for the people.
Now, I'm always quite intrigued with the idea. Again, what started me down the road of therapy was, why aren't people doing it? I was more intrigued by why people fail. I mean, we know what it takes to succeed, but what is it underneath that is causing people not to do the very things? There's education out there. There are systems out there. There's tools. There's all these things out there.
Well, there's three pillars. There's
thing?
always three pillars to change a habit. There's knowledge. In other words, you first got to acknowledge that you're not eating healthy or that you are overweight or that you're not fit. Then you got to somehow acquire the skills to change that. And that's all available, the knowledge and the skills. The third one is the willingness. And that's what we cannot teach, okay? So they have to be ready. And many times only people are ready when something bad happens to them or to a loved one. It's an event in their life that says, now I got to do something about it, but I need help. And it's those people that succeed, right? Otherwise, if that willingness component is not there, they just want a silver bullet, a magic bullet, and that's not going to work, right?
So, I mean, again, part of the reason I went into therapy was I was hitting the fitness part, I was hitting the nutrition part, but there was something missing. And ethically, as a trainer or as a coach, as a practitioner, there's an ethical boundary I cannot cross. I cannot go into therapy. So I was referring clients to therapists. And I said, so what if, just what if, I became a therapist? So when my clients came to see me, they would get not only therapy, but they would also automatically get fitness and automatically get nutrition. And it's all managed by one person who intimately knows what's going on in all the sectors. Because as you know, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. But exercise can also be a prescription. So you can actually give somebody completely inappropriate, and this, exercises, which is doing something contraindicated to their bodies.
Yeah. And that's perfect lead-in to tomorrow's podcast, because tomorrow we'll have Tasso Kyriakis here, the owner of Bodies, and we're going to talk about our immune system and how exercise can actually be beneficial or detrimental to our health and our immune system. And then we're going to lead into the latest innovations and developments in strength training. So Tasso will be on tomorrow at noon. Commissioner May, it was a pleasure to have you here to talk about everything we talked about. We should have you back to talk more about fitness and maybe some other topics. So thanks again for your time. Everyone else, hopefully we'll see you tomorrow at 12 noon with Tasso about the strength training and immunity. This is Dr. Mike. Choose health freedom.
Bye-bye.